He goes to school and thinks that today will be his first fresh start. But in the sky, an angel appears. But he tries to pretend like it doesn't exist. However, in that instant, the angel realizes his presence and vanishes before him, shocking Mirai. This reaction confirms that Mirai is a god candidate, since he can see the angel and the angel reveals his god. Candidate is standing right behind him. He sees Saki and he shoots him with her red arrow, even though he's been shot by the arrow. He's always been in love with Saki, but the arrow's power compels him to confess. She tells him her parents are home and that he can come over, so Mirai flies at sonic speed to her house. He waits inside her room until she finally appears. Saki goes on to ask him if he possesses white arrows, and he confesses that he does. The angel worries that he's Metropolitan, but says that he isn't. The angel tries to explain the reason behind shooting him with the arrow. He wants him to become Saki's wings, since she doesn't have any. Mirai agrees to become her wings, and they form a pact with each other by putting their hands together. Mirai finally gets to experience the feeling of a woman's touch, and a bond forms around their hands. He hugs her from behind and gets a tingling sensation again, so he takes off before she notices. They fly together in the sky, and Mirai remembers the times they used to spend together as kids. He takes her above the sky and tells her to let him know if anything's bothering her, because she'll always be there for her. After a while, Saki gets news from the Metropolitan and goes on a TV station at 6 p.m. The angel warns him that he might kill Saki if Metropolitan continues living, so Saki's red arrow compels him to find him. He says if it comes down to it, he will sacrifice himself for Saki. However, Nasi appears and tells him not to be so rash. She knows this was probably Revel's plans, the angel of mischief. If he was to die, then his wings and arrow would transfer to Saki. But if Metropolitan died, then the arrow would have compelled him to give those wings and arrows to Saki as well. Either way, Revel would have won. This horrible plan is the reason that Revel is a second-rank angel. And Mass's purity is what makes her a special rank angel. He's still worried about Mirai's actions once the arrow wears off, but Nasa assures him that Mirai is good. A month passes of them spending time together, and they time ride to a chair to make sure he won't do anything to Saki. Revel believes that these are his true feelings, and Mirai is angry at Saki for shooting him because he at last got to confess his feelings and realized how important it is he will not allow someone like Metropolitan to ruin his happiness with her. And Saki agrees because she's been wanting to be happy since she's been with him. Mirai sees her blushing, and the angel asks him if he's still under the arrow's effects. The news station comes on, and Metropolitan asks for all the other candidates to come and reach a peaceful solution. Mirai sees angels hovering over the sky and wonders just how many god candidates are going to be there. Saki warns him to stop staring before the angels notice him, and Mirai prepares for the moment to shoot Metropolitan with a red arrow. At 3 p.m., Metropolitan appears before everyone on the field, and soon after, Yellow and Blue Power Rangers appear, possessing both red arrows and wings. They fire the red arrow at Metropolitan, but it can't pierce through, causing them to realize this was a trap after all. This is likely just a random person who was shot with his arrows and dropped here to lure out the other god candidates. They try to call out for Metropolitan and think that this plan will finally turn their life around. One of them remembers entrance exam results being posted and how he was crushed for being rejected. He sat alone, and another man came crying for also being rejected. He had failed once already, but the guy in the green shirt had failed 3 times already before hugging the ground. They've decided to enjoy every last moment of their life. As the last train started coming, angels appeared before both of them and granted them the arrows along with wings. They understood the laws and the government better than anyone else, so they promised each other to make it to the top and make a better life for each other. They know that a god candidate can only shoot an arrow every 2 seconds, and that the arrow's range is only 31.6 meters, making this baseball field the best place for an attack. NASA and Revel didn't even know that the arrows had such a specific range. And finally, the screen turns on with Metropolitan, and yes, he reveals that they were correct about the Metropolitan, and in front of them being a fake, and goes on to show his red and white arrows, explaining that he can fire arrows every 0.3 seconds instead of 2 seconds since he has 2 of them. He bids them farewell, but the men restrain his fake copy. A girl starts flying in the sky and begs the 2 others to take her with them. Since she's scared of Metropolis, she doesn't want to die after being bullied all her life, and Mirai realizes that Saki was likely going through something as well. She allows them to shoot her with a red arrow, but as she approaches Metropolitan and takes a red arrow and shoots her, telling them that they can't hesitate like that, he disappears once more and promises to get rid of them. Since they were so slow, the men tried to form an alliance with all the other god candidates here and promised to work with them to take Metropolis. And down before they knew it, a pink and green Power Ranger entered the stadium. They shoot the green and pink Power Ranger with red arrows to form their alliance. But while they're distracted, something changes about Metropolis, and behind the announcer goes on to announce that the Super Civilization Squad of Metro 5 has assembled. They think that they have the numbers advantage here, but Mirai feels like something is off. The two Power Rangers ask them to reveal their arrows, but they say that they don't know what those are. The giant screen turns on once more, and Metropolitan tries to speak, but announces that he's not the actual Metropolitan. The real one is behind them, and he prepares two arrows to shoot directly at them. The blue Power Ranger is knocked out by the white arrow, and the yellow one is hit directly with the red one. The yellow one has now become the servant of the Metropolitan, and asks if he could know how this happened. Metropolitan reveals the green and pink were actually just humans who were obeying him to distract them from Metropolitan's location. But yellow wonders how they were able to be shot with red arrows. Metropolitan and reveals he can control people without red arrows, and explains that he can do anything with money. He sees the angel trying to sneak out without handing him the wings and arrows, but commands it to hand them off before leaving. He has now gained a total of 4 arrows and 2 wings though. Now the spectacle of the show, he has tied up Power Ranger Yellow with the girl, and he wants to test the limits of the red arrow. Yellow promises that he would do anything, but then Metropolitan commands him to die. Yellow rejects the command, so Metropolitan goes on to point a white arrow towards him. Yellow begins trying to fly for his life, but the restraints keep him from moving. Metropolitan fires the white arrow and Yellow has entered the next world. Next is the girl, and Revel is worried that Makai is going to try and intervene. He struggles to think of what to do in this situation, knowing that if he hesitates even slightly, he could end his and Saki's life. An angel tries to stop Metropolitan from shooting the girl. She screamed for help from everyone to save her, but unfortunately it was too late. Metropolitan has killed her and taken power from her so that he can become stronger. Not long after that, NASA came to the middle of the stadium and asked Metropolitan to speak privately. Then she asked all candidates to leave the stadium safely and return to their respective homes. At night, when Maria arrived home, he was still haunted by the girl's terrible death, and that incident made him remember what his father had said. His father once told her not to hate anyone and never to hurt others, even if they acted mean to him. That's what makes Mirai grow into a very naive young man who cannot repay the evil deeds done by other people. The next day, Saki proposes to gather other candidates and invites them to work together to beat Metropolitan. She was pretty sure that the other god candidates felt that Metropolitan was a threat to them, so she was sure that the other candidates would be willing to work with them. In the middle of the conversation, a middle-aged man named Nanadi Mikado came to Saki's house and said he would join them. Mikado is an engineer who works for a company manufacturing combat suits and has a family. But a few days ago, Mikado's health worsened due to his deadly disease, and the doctor told him he only had 3 months left. Suddenly, a female angel named Baird approached him and offered him a better life as a god candidate. After Mikado officially joined Saiki and Mirai, they decided to make a costume so Metropolitan wouldn't know their identity. Elsewhere, a rich and handsome young man named Yuri Kanade is living his life as a high school student as usual. But people don't know that Kanade is actually the true form of Metropolitan, who previously killed 4 other god candidates during lunchtime. A classmate of Kanade named Minami Kawa came up to him and invited him to see the beautiful girls next to their class. However, Kanade wasn't interested in that, and then asked Minami what he would do if he had the power to become a god. Then he casually said he would kill all the ugly and poor women on this earth. Hearing that, Kanade agrees with Minami's wish, but he has a different wish where he wants to revive his little sister, who died several years ago. At the same time, Mirai, Saki, and Mikado are looking for candidates for other gods to make their group allies.